Welcome to the Final Word podcast. We had an incredible worship experience today with 7 extraordinary preachers, and I have the privilege to be able to talk with 3 of them right now. One is to my left, none other than Reverend Racquel Gill.
If crucifixion had done what it was designed to do, then right about now, Jesus would begin to internalize the mocking they had done of him, internalize the jeering they were doing of him. If crucifixion had done what it was designed to do, he would be questioning if he really was who he said he was, because they had convinced him that this is indeed who he was not.
To my right is none other than Pastor Reginald Sharpe.
The disciples didn't understand him. In their hands, Peter denied him. In his hands, Thomas doubted him. In his hands, Judas betrayed him. In his hands, his followers deserted him. In their hands, the Sanhedrin council arrested him. In their hands, Pilate didn't acquit him. In his hands, the soldiers tortured him. In their hands, the thief mocked him. In their hands, a centurion pierced him. With his hands, the empire lynched him. In their hands, death tried to defeat him with its hands, and the tomb tried to hold him with its hands. Jesus said, enough is enough. Father, into thy hand.
And right next to Pastor Reginald Sharpe is none other than Pastor Devon Crawford.
Today, when 22 million families are losing food assistance because Congress decided that tax cuts for billionaires were more important than groceries for grandmothers, where is the heaven in that? When the executive branch of these yet to be United States of America signs executive orders dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion in the federal workforce, not reforming them, but eliminating them, and then directs the Department of Justice to investigate and penalize universities and companies and nonprofits that dare to pursue racial equity, where is the heaven in that?
Thank you for joining us for the Final Word podcast. And I want to begin with this person to my left, none other than Reverend Racquel Gill. You did a masterful job today, as you always do, and I've loved listening to you preach over the years. I want to ask you this question. Who is the one ancestor in your family or in your life who inspires you in terms of preaching?
First, thank you, Dr. Moss. I kind of neglected because I know y'all gave us 12 minutes and I wanted to be a good model, but Trinity and you have really just transformed the trajectory of my life and my ministry, and particularly this particular 7 Last Word service has just opened doors for me that I just would have never thought was possible through God. So I love you always, and I'm just really grateful to be here another year. And I should have asked you what questions you might be asking. Ancestors that really kind of have been muses for me, I think, in this particular season of my life. I think about, and I don't want to tell a story that's not mine to tell, but I remember maybe about a year and a half ago being called out of the blue to preach a eulogy for someone that I did not know. And this person, their nephew, found the letter where they had left for me to preach their particular eulogy. They were an educator in the community. I kind of knew of them, but I didn't really know them. And it wasn't upon reading the letter that they left that I realized that my grandmother had been the carrier of one of their secrets for most of their life regarding their own identity and walk in it. And so lately, I've really have been sitting with my paternal grandmother and what it means in her particular day and age to be an ally to the marginalized in her own way. And how this same kind of woman who struggled to really understand women in ministry, who struggled to really kind of understand, I think, some of the prophetic and social justice teachings of Jesus, but yet when she saw somebody who needed a confidant and needed a friend, she knew how to show up. So lately, I sit that letter kind of just on my particular mantle, just to remind me of what it means to kind of show up for people when they need it most.
Yes, that's a beautiful story, and I think it'll be important for people to hear that you are carrying that message and that spirit and the wisdom that flowed from your grandmother. I want to ask you, there is a comfortableness to your preaching now. There is that you stand in a very powerful place. When did you make the shift from Reverend Racquel, who is building, to Reverend Racquel is I'm standing?
Oh, wow. I think for me, really being what some would kind of name, God's backside. I think the itineracy of the Black church is a beautiful thing. And then kind of when you make certain decisions, you can kind of feel like the wind has kind of been taken out from under you. But when certain opportunities start to shift, right? When certain, pulpits, right, kind of make certain decisions to turn away. And so I think for me, when I began to see resurrection happen for some of the folks that I was in community with, who they would come to kind of a service, really felt like they had not been seen, really felt like their struggles were not really heard by God, really felt like they were just kind of not on the boundaries, right, on the margins, right, of inclusion by certain societies and certain communities, right, of faith. And sometimes when, after the sermon, they would come up to me and you would almost see life come back into their faces. Or whatnot, as we would begin to talk or whatnot, and reason together. And so I think for me, it really became what it means to not worry so much about the doors that have been closed, but to see just how ripe the harvest is, that there is always a community that God will send you to. There are always people who God will attune God's ears towards you. And there is always a heart, right, that is in need of the gospel. And so I think for me, that kind of comfortability is really measured right now in the fact that lives are at stake. To quote De La Soul, the stakes is real high right now. And I think as I have worked in college chaplaincy, I've seen so many deaths by suicide because of matters of identity, because of matters of acceptance, because of tensions with family and what it means to feel lonely and feel isolated. And I think much of that has really kind of shifted my trajectory of what it means, when people cannot manufacture hope within themselves, or when people cannot form hope within themselves. And so what it means for us as ministers of the gospel, right, that people need pastors, people need companions, people need somebody to walk with them through the valley of the shadow of death. And so I will say working on a college campus with emerging generations has really helped me. I was there to kind of teach them and walk with them, but Lord knows, they will call you out when you're not authentic. They will call you out when you're not yourself. They will kind of like pull things out of you that you didn't know was within you. And so I would say that has definitely helped my trajectory a lot.
Thank you for that. Now, Pastor Devon, you have been crisscrossing the nation in many ways in terms of your location. Birmingham, Atlanta. You've been East Coast to Boston, Cambridge area, and now you're in California. Could you tell us how each of the spaces and institutions you have been a part of have influenced your preaching and your public witness as an activist?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the invitation to join Trinity for the 7 Last Word service. I said it publicly, and I'll continue to say it, sir. I love you. So much of what I've been able to do, so many in my generation, we've been able to do so much because you have done your work, because you have been such a pioneer. So I'm grateful for your example and for your love. I could say that my journey has been cumulative in many ways. This is my first pastorate, although I've served in churches across the country. I'm grateful that I've been able to serve in higher education, whether it's campus minister at Morehouse, the Trotter Collaborative at Harvard University, or even leading the Multi-Faith Initiative to end mass incarceration in Atlanta. I don't see gaps in these experiences, but there's a consistent commitment to the social gospel, a commitment to liberation that I was able to carve out into each of these spaces. That it shows that ministry is not confined to one model. And so that's been helpful for me to walk in my calling, whether it's on a campus for a university or in the oldest Black Baptist congregation west of the Rocky Mountains. I take a great deal of inspiration from Howard Washington Thurman, who also pastored in San Francisco, was a dean of chapel at Howard and Boston University, and did tremendous work in social impact, which again shows a model that your ministry can be consistent, although it takes different platforms.
Pastor Sharpe, it is a privilege to have you, not only in the city, but also for you to preach today. You did an extraordinary job. And one of the things that I've always admired about your preaching is you hold to the power of your Black Southern roots.
Yes.
You're able to translate effectively for a new generation and hold a particular tension. And that tension is being able to craft a prophetic message, but also crafting simultaneously an expository message that allows people who have grown up in a traditional environment step out of the tradition, but still hold the tradition. So if you could just share with us a little bit about your journey of being able to hold tensions in such a beautiful way.
Wow. I don't know. No, thank you, Dr. Moss. It really is an honor to be here. When I was still in Atlanta, I would tune in to your 7 Last Word service because you always brought some of the best and most brilliant minds across the nation here. And so to have been invited this year is just insane to me. And I'm really, really grateful to be here. Every preacher was incredible. To focus in on your question, how do I hold the tension of what I would name, I guess, the tension of the traditional versus kind of nudging people gently towards a more transformational lens of how they interpret the Bible or scripture or life period. I think we all come out of a Black religious preaching tradition that had to do that work. Like Dr. King comes out of Ebenezer, walking down the street to listen to Reverend William Holmes Borders at Wheat Street, and yet something about his education at Morehouse and Crozier and Boston introduced him to personalism and introduced him to systematic theology that made him push us in a way to be more broad. But yet, the words of Daddy King, I'm told, were still behind him saying as he brought all of those grand, large words back from the Northeast, his daddy was behind him saying, make it plain. And there's always this commitment to allow the loftiness of thought of where God wants to take us always touch the ground and the normalness of where we still are as a people. And you don't have to lose being grounded to grow tall.
Yeah.
You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. Some things we do need to get away with. We really do need to get away from certain traditions that are violent, that are dangerous, that are dehumanizing. So some traditions I reject and resist completely. And then at the same time, while I hold to the hymns and that mother wit, and hold to some of the colloquialisms and the cliches of the black church, and just remembering the feeling, really, it's really the emotive feeling, the intuitiveness of the black church and black preaching traditions. I don't think we ever need to lose that. And that allows people to still hear me, even when, so I put it this way, because you would appreciate this, because you talked about some blues and jazz along the way in your work. The beat is the spirit, but how we improv can change. The Holy Spirit is the beat, but yet I may do some riffs. Like, okay, but they can handle the riff because at least the beat is consistent.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And so that is how I describe. People say all the time, "How do you preach like that?" I say it's very improvisational.
Wow.
I'm just, but the beat stays the same, and we're gonna riff, and we're gonna do some runs, and we're gonna play with the scales a little bit here. But I think people can still hold on to it because the beat is still familiar.
So who are the two primary homiletical influences for you?
Two primary. So when you ask Dr. Racquel, I'm saying Dr. Prophetic. It's on me today. No, I'm just playing. Dr. Racquel, when you asked her who's the latest one, like who am I?
However you want to define it.
Yeah. Well, I'll say lately, Reverend Jesse Jackson has been on me very, very heavy. It's something about when our ancestors closed their eyes, when they stop talking over here, you hear them louder.
Wow.
I hear him more. I don't know if this is correct grammar, but I'm just saying it. I hear him more loudly now that he's no longer speaking. And so all the conversations that we've had since I arrived here in 2019, I get why he moved the way he moved. I get why his ministry took on what it took on. And he was a preacher's preacher now, but he never sacrificed using the microphone to make us larger. You know, like when you hear Stevie Wonder, every time he gets the mic, he uses every moment to make us think about somebody else. And that was Reverend Jesse Jackson. So right now, he is on me heavy. And it's deeper than Keep Hope Alive and I Am Somebody. I remember him telling me, Sharpe, don't get caught up in the church work and then stop doing the work of the church.
Right.
Like I hear him saying to me, Sam Proctor was my mentor, and he taught me stay on the high moral ground, and people will never be able to just rip you to shreds. If you just stay on the high moral ground. It's hard for somebody to attack you when you're on the high moral ground. Just, So Reverend Jesse Jackson is on me pretty heavy, and I'll stop there for that. Another influence, I have to give credit to my home pastor, Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr., who is just your classmate. Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr., homiletical genius, creative, but yet honored the guardrails of the text. He never let his creativity make him go outside of, what is the text saying? So we honor the text and we dance between the guardrails of textual authenticity and making sure you honor the historicity of the text, but dance with some creativity. And also he had a prophetic edge to him as well that I appreciated. So I have to honor Dr. Smith. He's just a homiletical genius.
Shout out to E. Dewey.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
shout out. My classmate at Morehouse.
And forgive me for these long answers, but your question was mighty deep.
Pastor Devon, if you were to define yourself theologically, what words would you use? How would you frame your theological work? Because I see you, the work that you're doing, this generation needs to hear from you. With your thought, your preaching, the work that you're doing in the street, but how would you frame your theological thought?
Thank you for that question. You know, I frame it knowing that I follow the carpenter of Nazareth. I keep my focus on a theology of liberation, along with models. So I deeply appreciate the ministry of Dr. Prathia Hall-Wynn, someone who maintained a prophetic imagination and voice in the academy and in the church. But she also found herself organizing with SNCC, keeping that touch with everyday people who are fighting to make life better and fight for dignity for the least of these. And so I see my work as continuing that prophetic ministry, the revolutionary thought. I hold dear the words of Dr. James Halcone that says that the church are those people who are called into being by the power and love of God to share in Christ's revolutionary activity for the liberation of humanity. So I want to share in that revolutionary work in my own time, in my own space, and bring others along with me. Knowing that this is a long struggle, knowing that Coretta Scott King was right, freedom is an ongoing struggle, and each generation has to fight for it on its own terms and in its own generation. And so theologically, I try to keep my feet in different spaces, but grounded always in the theology of Jesus the carpenter that walked with everyday people.
Reverend Gill.
If I could say something, I want to credit Devon. I mentioned when I named about nonviolence, but I remember when we were in Florida when you got us together for the Prophetic Preachers Lab. And I remember I had a lot of high critique for the ministry of nonviolence. I can't remember, but something towards the kin of reading the book of the nonviolent stuff will get you killed. And it was really Devon who pulled me to the side and really talked to me about what Soul Force is, or whatnot, and how the work of nonviolence is really this act of like radicality, right? Or not that I think sometimes or not when you're young and when you see this as not really effective, or is this really getting us where we're going? But the actual kind of discipline it takes, right, to lean into the tradition of the ancestors and the elders who've gone before, and so I really, like 10 years later now, as I was preparing this, I literally thought about that conversation and what it means to kind of pull somebody to the side and really root me in the tradition of Dr. Thurman, root me in the tradition of those who have kind of Bayard Rustin. That was, you introduced me to Bayard Rustin when in that conversation. And so I'm grateful for you and of just for shifting me in that direction.
That's dope.
Along those same lines, I want to stay there for a moment. Tell us about the process from reading Thurman to walking with Thurman. There's a difference.
Goodness. To me, I mean, I'm going to be very vulnerable right now. When I made the decision with my spouse to join a multicultural, multi-ethnic church in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it went against everything that I knew about myself. I'm a product of the black church. I love black people. I believe in black people fully. And yet, I think in even sitting with Thurman, of what it means to quote the words of our pastor, who she pulled from Thurman, of to hate white supremacy without hating white people. And that has been a real journey for me in this season of really what it means when we say the fellowship of all peoples, and what it means when we say the fellowship of reconciliation, right? And to work towards that has really sat with me. And Thurman's influence on one of my muses, the Reverend Dr. Paulie Murray, who, being in Durham, which is, where Paulie was born, and all of the things that her body was subjected to. When I quote there.
For those who may be listening who may not be familiar with Paulie Murray, just give a little bio for those who are new to the podcast and have no idea who these individuals are.
Without being too long at all, the Paulie Murray Center for History and Social Justice is an amazing space. So, and I encourage you to go look it up. You can do virtual tours there. But yeah, the Reverend Dr. Paulie Murray is one, again, influenced by Dr. Howard Washington Thurman, was influenced honestly by a motley crew of folks who were at Howard at that particular time, who were influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. or whatnot in the movement of nonviolence or whatnot. But Dr. Murray in particular, I mean, I could go down the list. The first Black woman, quote unquote, or whatnot, to become a priest in the Episcopal Church. The woman who would coin the term Jane Crow. What does it mean for Black women to kind of sit at the intersections of the white feminist movement, but also the Black liberation movement? And honestly became one of the models for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Ruth kind of credits Pauli Murray for using Pauli's arguments or whatnot in the Supreme Court around the basis of sex, but also was a big influence in the civil rights movement. It was Pauli's work that Thurgood Marshall called as his Bible. When he was doing the Supreme Court cases around the desegregation of schools or whatnot. And so Pauli was really ahead of their time and has kind of had a resurgence now because many believe that they kind of existed really outside of the norms of gender construction. They really existed kind of outside of social norms, right, that were accepted at that particular time. But a new generation are really taking up the banner and really, you know, like leaning into Pauli's work. And as I just continue to read her writings, it's just such a deep influence of what it means, in her words, to see an idea whose time has come or whatnot. And she had a lot of ideas, but the time had not come for them yet. And so now to kind of see many of these ideas emerging and many folks turning back to her has really been a blessing. But I credit kind of Devon for really starting me on that journey or whatnot, of not seeing nonviolence as a kind of capitulation to whiteness, but really seeing it as a deep tradition that we can be proud of.
I love that. Now, one final question for all of you. If you were to put together a mixtape that spoke about who you are, your journey, your beliefs, I want you to give us at least 3 or 4 artists who would be on that mixtape for you. Who would those people be? Who wants to start with the mixtape?
You just want the artist or you want the songs?
Either one.
Either one. I'll go first.
Okay, thanks.
The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
That song on that album
Classic.
is number 1 on my mixtape. Donny Hathaway, Someday We'll All Be Free, is number 1 on that album. The song by Carlos Moody, who sang at Dr. Frank Thomas's son's funeral a few weeks back. He has a song called My Refuge. When I tell you, where do I go when my heart is overwhelmed? Is there a refuge? That song right there takes me out. And then number 4, because if it's a mixtape, you got to have a little variety.
Yeah.
I think I would have to add, I think I'm going to have to add, who is arising in my spirit? Who's coming up? All right, this is the last one. Let me see.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to go with Roberta Flack and Donnie, Where's the Love?
Yeah.
That's what's rising up. So that's my mixtape today. If we talk tomorrow.
It'll be another one. It'll be another one. All right, for today.
For today. Well, I love Aretha Franklin. We talk about, moving in and out of spaces. She's the queen of genres. So I can't name one particular song because the whole catalog is brilliant. But these days, I've also been listening to Leanne LaHavis, who is a UK artist and just incredible. I found her through Olivia Dean. But, just incredible journey that she takes you on with her music. And he's been mentioned already, but Stevie Wonder. Because, the way that he engages the world with his artistry. Yeah. And, for the variety, Childish Gambino. Donald Glover. It's always a good time.
Which Childish, though? Was there a particular anything or a particular project?
Okay. Well, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but the project where there's the woman, the blue cover. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. So.
Not This Is America.
No, that wasn't on that.
No,
That was
that was
afterwards.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Where
The
he
blue-
does,
yeah.
they do the rendition of
Redbone
some of the
is on that
Redbone.
one. Yeah, Redbone is on that
Parliament
one.
Funkadelic,
Yeah, buddy.
Bootsy Collins. He does
Yeah.
those renditions and updates. So.
Yeah. That was a great era.
Reverend.
Take Me to the Alley by Gregory Porter is
Ooh.
always on mine. When I love that song. Then I would probably, lately it's really been the James Cleveland cut of God Has Smiled on Me. I don't know why. I've been returning back to James. And then lastly, I'm going back and forth. I really, really have appreciated Cardi B. And I'm excited about going to see her in concert. So it will be next week. Hello, it's me. Has been a big part of the playlist. And then I would say that new Jill Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole album.
I've
My
heard
goodness.
about it.
Jill has done
Yes.
some work, and it's been So I'm really
Jill Scott is
enjoying that.
Well, thank you.
What's
all.
on yours?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
oh,
go
no,
on. Don't do that.
Yeah, please.
For today, what would be on mine? I would have definitely always have Stevie Wonder
Yes.
on anything that I would do. Of course, Jay Dilla.
Yes.
But Jay Dilla would be actually doing the mixtape for me, so he would be remixing because I love Jay Dilla
Dilla time.
so very much. There is a Brazilian group, Avua. I think I've been really vibing to, man and woman, and I just discovered them on the YouTube channel Colors, and they were just killing it, and I was really enjoying them. And there is Kenneth Whalum III, Kirk Whalem's nephew.
Okay.
He's also a producer, but he does what is called atmospheric R&B. You have to just listen to him. He has a great, Monica loves it. It's a song called Ghost Town, and it's brilliant. We've had him at Trinity. He's been at Trinity several times, and he's played because their family was very close with Reverend Wright, and they come through from time to time. And he does a wonderful, wonderful job. There is another sister, I cannot think of her name, out of Montreal. She goes between English and French, and I've been vibing to her. I wish I could remember her name. I'm gonna look on my phone, I'll tell you. And her name is, if I pronounce it right here, oh yes, Dominique Fils-Ami. Dominique Ami. Yes, she's tough. Everything, she has a song, Sun Skin, and The River, and just going back and forth between this Afro-French and this jazz R&B with this undercurrent of Afrocentric framing. It's just it's wild, but I'm loving what she's doing. So that would be what I would be listening to right now. I love it.
Have you ever heard of Tank and the Bangers?
Oh,
my
yes.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
New Orleans.
Yes, Lord.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Balloon.
Now,
Balloon,
that song
yeah.
I just was introduced to about 2 weeks ago with Black Folks.
Yes.
Oh, I love Black.
When I
Yes.
tell you,
Her
Tank
tiny
and Bangers
disc, too.
are- they're
That's
killer.
legendary.
Yeah,
They're
that tiny
killer.
disc.
That's why I found
She
out
did
about
her work.
Taylor. Yes.
yeah.
They are
No.
killer.
So that's on my mixtape too.
Yeah, take it to
Add that
Vegas. Got that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another, if you get a chance to, you got to hear him live, but his name is Isaiah Sharkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna
he's
look him
nasty.
up.
Yeah.
You got to hear him live. That's D'Angelo's guitarist.
Wow. Wow.
Also Robert Glasper's guitarist.
Yes, I was gonna say so queer.
Also
yeah.
Layla Hathaway's
Wow.
guitarist. Every musician, John Mayer's guitarist, when he went on tour. Paul Simon too.
I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah, Isaiah is when any people go on tour, they're like, Raphael Sadiq's guitarist.
And his name is
Isaiah Sharkey. He's from here,
Sharkey.
Chicago. Oh my gosh,
All right.
Isaiah
He's
Sharkey.
phenomenal.
He is he is a musical savant. Just brother is absolutely gifted.
Wow.
Absolutely gifted. But thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for taking time for the Final Word podcast. Make sure you take a listen to these magnificent preachers. I know that you will be blessed when you hear the word that they put forth. But until next time, I'm Otis Moss, and this is the Final Word.
All right.
All right.
So good.
Thank you. Thank
all
you all.
right.
And we have an audience.
Right.
This is like the Oprah Winfrey.